Hi there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Today we are going to draw some jellyfish with colored pencil. I will have a real-time version of this tutorial up in Critique Club. It's up right now, actually, over at lindsayweirich.teachable.com if you'd like to follow along in real time. Or if you'd just like to check out the time-lapse, you can do that right here. And make sure you stick around to the end of the video because I've got a special announcement to share with you. I'm starting off in a handmade sketchbook that my friend Rosie made for me. Aren't they pretty? I'm going to have everything linked up down below that I used today. And Rosie does sell these sketchbooks to everybody if you would like to get one of them. It's made with some handmade cotton paper. I think it's designed for pastel, but I just had to try my colored pencils on it because I love to use colored pencils on toned paper. If you haven't done that before, you gotta try it. It's so much fun because a lot of the work is done for you. Colored pencil can be so slow, but when you start off with a toned base, it really makes it a lot faster. And this type of project here with lots of flowy, organic lines is just so much fun if you just want a quick colored pencil project to do. Now I'm starting off sketching very loosely these little jellyfish, and the top of the jellyfish kind of remind me of mushroom caps. So if you think of it as like drawing a mushroom cap, it becomes a lot easier. So anytime you're trying to draw something and you're getting a little overwhelmed, ask yourself, what does this look like that's easier to draw? And it will really simplify things and make the drawing process a lot more fun. Don't get stressed out. It's only a piece of paper, guys. I'm using a combination of different pencils. I have my brutfuner square pencils and also some brand new brutfuner pastel pencils, or they're called macaron pencils, that I'll be trying out today. Now, I have used them on several projects, and I have a review that I'll be posting next week for you on my YouTube channel if you want to learn more about these pencils. They are gorgeous, they perform really well, and if you have been kind of on the fence and wondering if maybe you'd like to invest on the pricey Holbein pastel color pencils, you may want to consider these because they are 1/10 of the price and they perform really quite well. But I'll have comparisons on my review coming up next week if you want to check that out. Like I said, I'm going to put links to everything I've used that I can find in the video description for you if you're curious about it. But keep in mind, you can probably do this project with the stuff you have at home already. If you don't have toned paper, you can always do a watercolor wash on some watercolor paper and use that. You can always go through the colored pencils you have and pull together some pastel tones. So try what you have first before spending. I know a lot of people are doing, art supply no-buys and trying to use what they have. And the first step in that is before you go shop to see what you have and see if you can find something that will suffice. And I bet you can. You don't have to have every color, right? These are really fun to have. They're fun to use, but you may have a good assortment of pastel tones in the regular colored pencils you already have. So after putting in the basic structure of the jellyfish with that kind of reddish brown terracotta color, I went in with some pastel tones and started to block in some of the areas that I know I want to be light. I'm using beige, I'm using peach, some kind of aqua and light blue and light purple tones. I don't recall the exact names because one bad thing about these pencils, and I have the same complaint with a lot of pencils, is they have metallic writing, which looks very elegant, but is so difficult to read when I have all my studio lights on because it's just like a glare. So, you can pretty much see what these colors are that I'm using. That's why I say it's not even important you have the exact same set of pencils that I'm using or the exact same colors. Just go, grab what you have that's nearest. We all have different stuff. You don't need to have every set. I'm filling in and just building up color here at this point. Nothing too fancy about that. I'm not using a lot of pressure. That's one thing I like about pencils that are a little bit softer. You can, if you don't put a lot of pressure down, you still can layer up and add a lot of color. And I like the softer pencils because my wrist will start to hurt after a while. And I know a lot of my viewers suffer from strength issues and arthritis. And, colored pencils can really aggravate that if you are using them for a long time. So getting a paper with a little bit of tooth tooth that can help grab some of that color a little easier than, coloring on a really slick surface. And having a pencil that's softer will really help you with that. So if you've struggled with the pencils that you have because they hurt your wrist, you feel like you got a death grip and you're always pressing too hard, maybe you could try to find a pencil that's a little bit softer. Maybe colored pencils in general are too firm. You could always try a chalk pencil, like a chalk pastel pencil, or even like a Neocolor watercolor crayon that still has that opacity but takes very little effort to apply the media. That's what I'm saying. Use what you have. See what you have in your stash that can give you similar results, because there's so many ways you can approach any tutorial. Just be brave and give it a try. And even if nobody's ever tried it that way before and nobody's ever used that product for that before, you're going to develop some new techniques. It'll either work or it won't. And the most you're going to be out is a piece of paper. And if it bothers you to waste that piece of paper, get a brown grocery bag and test it out on the inside of the brown grocery bag and see if that works. That's a toned paper. It really is. You could definitely experiment on that and see what you think. And then you can be free with it. You don't have to be worried about, precious supplies getting wasted. Color pencils, watercolor crayons, they wear down so slowly, really in the grand scheme of things, that you bought your things to use them. You shouldn't let that be a deterrent, thinking that you're going to waste a little bit. You've got to waste some to learn. So it's not really a waste. It's just part of the process. Here I'm layering in some darker colors over the pastels, and look what happens. Look at the blue in the jellyfish is on front. If you look at the blue along that center mass of ethereal tendrils, I don't know what the parts of the jellyfish are called, layering that deep royal blue over the pastel really made that blue almost like an electric blue. So the colors that are underneath will affect the colors you lay down on top. If I laid white down on a bright color, it would turn it into a muted or a pastel color. It would brighten it and lighten it. If you put dark over a light color, you will usually see a more vibrant color. Instead of it being dark and deep, it'll be a little bit more vibrant, especially if it's a translucent pencil, because you're going to have that body color underneath that's going to make it pop. So it's just really fun to try opaque media and then try translucent over it and mixing them together and seeing what you got. Now, the thing you do want to just keep in mind when you're doing that is that those first layers you put down can really affect everything you're putting on top. And if you go too thickly with that first layer, you might not be able to layer on top. So if I want to have a bright white highlight, let's say I am drawing a cat and I want a bright whisker, and I draw that whisker in right off the bat. I'm going to draw that in firmly with a sharp white pencil. That way, when I color over it, my pencils are going to skip over that white, not stick to that, and I'll keep that white whisker. You know what I mean? So use it for your advantage when you want those colors to remain. But if you don't, then color really lightly so your next layers can grab a little bit of the tooth of the paper and impart some of their color as well. So here, when I'm working on this black paper, I am very lightly putting down these really pale aqua colors because I know I'm going to want to alter it a little bit, and I know that part of the jellyfish, it's probably the most opaque part, but it still is not completely opaque. It's a little translucent, and I'm going to be able to see some of the colors of the ethereal tendrils underneath. So I want to make sure I don't put too much white and too much aqua and too much really pale blue and stuff up there, because I want to be able to get those other colors in there too. I don't want to spend all the tooth. Think of it that way. Think of the tooth of the paper is like money, and you don't want to spend it all before you've got all the color that you need. You got to budget your paper tooth. You got to budget it because you still want to put more in there, so you got to still have some tooth left to grab that pencil. If there's no tooth left in the paper, then the paper can't grab that delicious colored pencil that you're trying to put down there. I'm not sure if I mentioned what those pastel pencils are. I think I did. They're the brutfuner 50 macaron colors. Like I said, I'll have a review coming up next week for those, next Monday, I believe, if you want to learn a little bit more about them. I do compare them against some popular colors that are a very similar feel. So you'll be able to see if you have some of those other sets, whether you want to add these or not, whether they're going to give you enough new colors for you to justify it. But I'm pretty impressed with these. I've really enjoyed them, and for me, I feel that they seem most similar. I mean, they look identical to Holbein's. It's obvious they're trying to copy that that pastel set that Holbein has out, but in feel and in use, they really remind me of my Prismacolors. So if you like that feel of a pencil, you probably enjoy these. I find they worked really well with other pencils that I put them with in pictures, so that was really nice. It's one of those supplies that added to rather than detracted from the other things I had, which is always a good thing. So here I'm using a darker kind of teal color, and I'm fading that really opaque edge where I started with white and then I added on some of that really pastel aqua. Then I used a more intense color, that teal color, to kind of fade it into the black. So it's a more translucent color. It doesn't contain as much white, so I can go over the lighter area and fade it into the dark, because the center part of that body is going to be pretty black. I don't know if it's just the light hitting the edges, making those glow and light up, because this must have been taken in an aquarium, I imagine, the photograph. And I'll try to remember to link to the reference photos. They're on Unsplash. If you search Jellyfish on unsplash.com, you'll find tons of photos to go by. There's a beautiful assortment of color of photos there. But anyway, the center of the body looks really black, and I don't know if it's just really spread thin and translucent there, or if it's just the way the lighting is, but I thought it was really mysterious and beautiful. And I think jellyfish in general are kind of mysterious. They're, you rarely see them on the beach. If you do, they're stinging, it's not pleasant. But, the only time you really see them is in an aquarium, so it's not something that people really observe that much, unless you're probably like a marine biologist, but normal schmoes like me don't see jellyfish too often. So it's just kind of a fun thing to draw, because it's almost like a little alien. It's weird, it's fun, it looks cool. It's got swirly gwirly lines that are fun to draw and highlight, and this is just a really fun subject, and I highly recommend you trying it especially if you've got some artist block and you don't know what to draw. Draw this. You're going to have fun. It's going to be fun. Even if you're not somebody who, really draws this sort of thing, it's just, really loose and fun and impossible to mess up, because, nobody's comparing a jellyfish in real life next to your drawing. You could have space alien jellyfish. You could really have fun and be creative with it, and put all sorts of little swirls and loop-de-loos and ruffly bits, and it's just fun. I really, really enjoyed that. And if you notice that kind of neon jellyfish over to the left, I filmed that. However, for some reason, the entire clip was out of focus. So that's why I ended up doing this jellyfish too, because I wanted a on black paper example in Critique Club. But the other one was just completely out of focus, which was a bummer. But I will quickly just kind of explain what I did for the neon one. I drew it with a white color pencil first, and then I just started layering over the neons and pastels and whatnot to get those colors. And that pretty much does it. You can find still photos on my Instagram or blog. There you can see them together. And I put together something new over in my Teachable School. I combined the Critique Club lessons from each year, just the lessons only, into yearly collections. Now the collections will retail for $60, but for the month of January, because I like all of my subscribers to get the best price possible, I'm giving you 50% off on those, so you can pick up any of these collections for $30 each. You can use the link launch50, or you can click on one of the discounted links in the video description. All the details are in there, and also details on regular Critique Club if you prefer that. If you're a member of Critique Club, nothing has changed. For $5 a month, you can have access to all of those tutorials. But I know a lot of my viewers prefer to purchase their lessons and then have lifetime access to them rather than join a membership. So I just wanted to have it there for folks that prefer to consume their material that way. I want to thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, happy crafting!